Hello, Grim Nation. I have just finished watching the first episode of Superman and Lois. It was 63 minutes long, just obviously longer than usual. And I was unsure if I was going to do maybe like a reaction to it or something. But wow, okay. Lots of process in one episode. Woo! I don't even know where to begin. This is what the Arrowverse needed right now for sure. You know, one of my favorite shows, Arrow, has just ended, and then Supergirl's ending. Black Lightning is unfortunately ending, and I'm not into Batwoman anymore. You killed Kate Kane. Screw you. I'm done with you. I love Kate Kane. I love Ruby Rose. Huge crush on her, and I know she's lesbian, and she's awesome. And she was awesome in the Meg. But yeah, this show is exactly what the Arrowverse needed right now. It had action and drama, and it kicks off. First 15 minutes. It's like bringing it up about the past, like the ship crashing down, and Jonathan and Martha finding them, and and then it cuts to Jonathan having his heart attack, and that's terrible. Superman stops the nuclear reaction uh, cleverly by freezing the ocean and then taking a giant iceberg from the ocean and then dropping it into the nuclear reactor before it blew up. So, your first bit of drama, you find out that he has a partnership with the military, and because of his marriage to Lois. His boys are much older. They're teenage boys now. One has social anxiety. The other one is on the football team. So a little bit of a distinct there. Clever joke in the beginning where Kent, he comes home and he's like, he walks in on his son playing Injustice, and it's Raiden versus Superman. And he says, "Oh, they made Superman look good." And he's like, "Superman is boring. I'm Raiden." I'm just like, "Oh man, that was a good one. That was clever." As a writer myself, and I always appreciate like good humor and good writing like that. I'm always looking for like plot holes and weak points, but this episode didn't really have any. I can't say I had any negatives about it really at all in any way, shape, or form. Everything felt greatly paced. Um, you know, Basically the drama starts picking up when he's in Metropolis, and his mother suffered from a stroke. She had a stroke. They had just talked the night before, and she had a stroke. And he rushes home to see her, and she's just calling back to him, come home, and he doesn't make it in time. And it's very upsetting. This show had made me laugh and cry, and it tore my heart out and put it back in, you know just to make me go, oh my god, by the end of the episode. I can't wait to tell you about that, because holy crap. um but So they go to Smallville for the funeral, and then the boys are in the barn, like they're not supposed to be messing with the Wi-Fi with the daughter of Lana Lang, because you gotta have Lana Lang everywhere. And basically, the one with the anxiety falls, and a bunch of like metal pipes are coming down on top of the boys, and they seemingly end up unharmed, raising the question, do these boys have superpowers? Maybe. Um, and then eventually they get a little too nosy, and they, They poke in the barn and they find the alien spaceship. Oh God. And then they're like, "You've been lying to us." And big drama there. He finally comes clean and reveals that he is Superman and hails from Krypton. And you know, it's very hard for them to take that. They're just like, "Leave me alone." But then the boy ends up going to a party later for this girl. Likes her a lot. Kisses her. She's like, "What are you doing?" And then some big, tall, black guy just kicks him and it's like, "What are you doing? That's my girlfriend!" And he's like, "What the hell? I didn't even know." And so, he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't even know." And then the guy's like, I'm gonna kick your ass. And that's when his brother comes in, the quarterback. He's like, "Come there, boom!" Starts like tussling with him and shoving him. And dude's like, okay, I'm gonna, and so they're going and like he's tackling them, takes them to the ground and stuff. But this dude's an a-hole, and where a-holes lie, their friends are not far behind. So, his buddies start kicking. Jonathan is the the quarterback son's name. I don't know why, but I'm blanking on the other name right now. But yeah, Jonathan was getting the hell beat out of him, and then it happened. The one who didn't think he was gonna have the powers used his heat beam to blow up the bonfire, and everybody just went flying. So boys were hurt. Kid got a broken arm. Good for him. What an a-hole. And so they have a talk about it at the house, and they're like, "I'm gonna be here for you through it all." And they talk about, what if we move back to the farm? And so that's the thing. They're going to move back to the farm. So it's like, wow, we get to see a very different aspect of his life where he's a father. But not just that he's a father, but, we've seen Clark in Metropolis, obviously with Smallville eventually going there. We've seen him in Smallville. But to be a father in Smallville, after everything's changed. And then they bring up some serious stuff like, Lana's husband is a firefighter and he sees some messed up stuff, so it really eats at him day in and night out, and it makes him a miserable bastard, basically. And the reason for that is because of some of the stuff he sees, like like the stuff you didn't hear about in Smallville, like for instance, family cooking meth, and the meth burns the apartment building down with their kids inside. That's pretty messed up stuff. But that's like serious stuff they bring up, and I'm like, oh, this writing, like, this is what the Arrowverse needed. This could, one, save the Arrowverse, and also to set up their next big crossover, which will most likely involve everything from HBO Max. And now that the Snyder Cut is part of the HBO Max, who knows? We might actually see, Zack Snyder's superheroes come in. I don't know. I'm just speculating. We had that nice little Flash pop-up thing, the Crisis. But, so, we start to get to the climax, the third act, if you will, of this emotional episode when, he goes to investigate something going on. Another nuclear reactor. Maybe finally catch the guy who did it. Finally finds the guy. This guy knows everything about him. His weaknesses, to put lead in the wall. Who is this guy? They fight. He's got this badass gray armor that I've never seen before. I'm like, oh, Jesus, this dude's like, who the frick is this, Master Chief? Like, this dude is next level ready. He's just throwing him through everything, just messing him up. And he's like, let's take this upstairs. Flies up to the atmosphere. Follows him. And he's like, who else would know everything about you? And I'm like, that voice, it's really deep. And it's like, I've never recognized it before. I'm like, who is this guy? The whole time leading up to this episode, he's called the Stranger. And he's a stranger, but also not a stranger. And I'll explain that in a minute. But finally, he stabs him, he falls, and before he hits the ground, he, takes the blade out, saves himself right in front of some Chinese dude's car. Because part of their battling was flying around the planet, and they ended up in Hong Kong, and that's when they went straight up and down. But when he was in I was just like, oh, huh, not every day you see Superman in Hong Kong. But you know, but then it came, the holy shit moment. Whoo! So Morgan Edge basically is the villain of the series, it seems. She's bought the Daily Planet. He's messing it up. He fired Clark. He tried to buy the Kent properties, trying to buy up all the property for some nefarious reason. That's not the bombshell. The bombshell is when the stranger goes back to his base. He takes his helmet off. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I realize it's the voice coming out of the computer says, greetings, Captain Luthor. Like Lex Luthor. And it's a black guy. Now, I don't know how many of y'all watch Supergirl. But over there, John Cryer from 2.5 Men does an amazing job. He's my favorite Lex Luthor. To this day, him, Kevin Spacey, Michael Rosenbaum, even Gene Hackman, And this guy, I was like, oh, jeez. Okay. So what does this mean? Like, is he from another parallel Earth? Are they already setting up the next crossover of multiverse? Because, like, the multiverse collapsed into one, but there's still another multiverse out there with all the HBO Max shows and Titans and all that. So, we're going to see that crossover. But, this Black Lex Luthor, is he from another Earth? Is he from the future and a distant relative of Lex? They didn't say a first name. But all I could think is, oh, Jesus, like the animated series had a Black Lex Luthor. So I'm like, oh, they're pulling the trigger on Black Lex Luthor. Like how they got Sam Jackson for Nick Fury, And I was like, wow. And it blew my mind. Instantly, I'm like, yes, give me more of this. Give me another episode of this. I have not been this intrigued. Oh, Jesus. I don't know if I've ever been this intrigued about a superhero show than I am with this one. Batwoman, I was pretty intrigued, and then they had it, and then they didn't. Arrow had a fair level of intrigue. I remember, this is the most intrigued I think I've been since, the Crisis, and since Arrow, the first episode, where I'm just like, what did he go through? I want to see Deathstroke and all this, and, all the horrible things he went through in those 5 years. They were miraculously able to get 8. But, yeah, very awesome episode. I am definitely invested, and I may actually post not a live reaction, but, a chopped up, edited version of next week's episode. So, yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, because that was exactly what the Arrowverse needed with all this this bad news. Because, like, Arrow, Green Arrow and Canaries was canceled. That didn't get to happen, unfortunately. A little bummed. Not super bummed, but a little bummed. Flash isn't getting a spin-off that I know of, but it could be ending in a season or two. Legends of Tomorrow is still going. I don't know how many more seasons it's gonna last. And then Black Lightning's getting a spin-off. I don't know if it's gonna be any good or not. Black Lightning's ending, Supergirl's ending, Batwoman. I don't estimate it's gonna last past this season. I don't know. Maybe it gets a season 3 and gets canceled. I don't have a lot of faith in that show. So the Arrowverse is in a weird place right now, where it's like it hit its peak like Endgame, but it doesn't seem like it's got quite that steam or momentum like the Marvel MCU has when they're coming out with the great stuff. But this show could be redemption for the Arrowverse. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye on it and see how the season unfolds. But anyway, thank you for watching, and uh, yeah, subscribe, and I'll post more reactions like this and all that. Thanks.